I'm Shane Baker, and this is my review of MasterClass. A good friend of mine, Richard Hornbaker, gifted me a one-year subscription to MasterClass, and so I quickly compiled a list of 18 to 19 people that I wanted to learn from, and at the top of my list was Annie Leibovitz. So I myself am a professional photographer. I shoot full-time, and I really wanted to get insight into how she approached her work. And so what I wanted to do is just take a few moments and share with you guys what I thought of her masterclass. This is not a review or a critique of how masterclass itself puts together the content, but this is more for those who are subscribing to masterclass and have not yet watched the Annie Leibovitz videos, so you can get an idea of what to expect. And if you have not yet subscribed to masterclass, hopefully this gives you some insight into what you can expect, and if it might be valuable enough to you to subscribe to it. So I created a few notes here, so I'll be looking at these as I talk. So I think the first thing that stood out to me about Annie Leibovitz's masterclass is that you really have to watch the whole thing in its entirety to get a real sense of the weight and the message that she's trying to convey to you. This is not one of those artists that will give you 1 minute and 2 minute technical bits of information that are going to help you improve. That doesn't really exist in this class. And Annie Leibovitz says as much. In fact, she doesn't call herself a technical photographer at all. She's very much a storyteller. And as you watch the masterclass, you participate in it, you really get the sense that that's where her strength lies as an artist. And one of the things that was interesting to me about her is how non-technical that she is. And that really resonated with me as a photographer because I don't consider myself a technical photographer as well. Now, of course, we understand, f-stop and aperture and like most professional photographers should, you can walk into any environment and quickly know the technical things that you need to do to create the image that you want. But you're not going to get any of that in this class. And so what Annie Leibovitz really surprised me with, well, I wouldn't say surprised, but impressed me with, was her memory. She had these really wonderful stories of the clients that she had photographed. Annie Leibovitz is arguably one of the few photographers who's more famous than many of the celebrities that she shoots. So sometimes the stories were kind of really interesting anecdotes of people that you may be familiar with. And other times you heard stories about images and works that, frankly, to me were never well known. Like, I hadn't seen those particular images. I didn't know who those people were. But it was really interesting to see how much she really connected to each of those individuals that she was photographing. And that really came through in this masterclass, is that idea of storytelling. And one of the things that she's really good at doing is keeping you involved in that process of thinking about story. And all the projects and all the coursework in masterclass is geared towards that. And she's very much somebody who wants you to connect to the person on the other side of the camera. And so I guess in that way, if you're shooting anything like architecture or product photography or maybe even sports photography or something similar to that, where there's really not an opportunity to connect to an individual on the other side, you might not find the kind of things in this masterclass that you would find beneficial. However, like most photographers, I have a wide variety of things that I like to shoot, and so just because you photograph those types of things doesn't mean you don't also like to shoot people and do some personal projects. So with Annie Leibovitz, you also really understand that she's not trying to sell you anything. And that was really refreshing. Here's what I mean by that. As she's talking and she's providing the information that she is to you, you know that she knows what she's talking about. There's no bravado. There's no over-the-top conversation. She's not salesy in her approach. She's very much an artist, and she really cares about her work, and she talks about it in that sense and in that way. And that comes through really, really strong. It is really refreshing to see that, especially when you go online and you hear a lot of photographers that are on YouTube and Instagram, and they're trying to sell you a product, which is nothing wrong with that, but there's a difference between somebody who is in a sales pitch mode and somebody who's genuinely just giving you insight into who they are as an artist. And that difference is really, really evident in this masterclass, because Annie Leibovitz never breaks from that. And the whole time you're really drawn into her thinking and her mindset as an artist. So what I want to share is just a couple things that I think are really, really good. So if you're looking for a good story, you're going to enjoy this. If you're looking for the opportunity to get into the mindset of a photographer of her caliber, you're going to enjoy this masterclass. If you're looking for inspiration as an artist, you're really going to enjoy this masterclass. Now, who probably will not enjoy this masterclass? If you're specifically looking for technical details, for example, what f-stop should you shoot on a sunny day? How to use your aperture properly, equipment recommendations. You're not going to find any of that here. You're also not going to find any strong details on editing. And one of the things that's interesting about Annie Leibovitz is they were showing behind the scenes video of her after doing a project. And so Annie is sitting down at a desk, and next to her is her editor. And at one point, she pulls out this little pointer that extends out, and she's tapping on the screen, and she's giving instructions to her editor as they're sitting down going through editing the photos. So she's not actually doing the editing herself. However, all the creative process and the ideas are definitely 100% hers. So the editor is essentially becomes a tool in her hands, much in the same way Photoshop is for us if we do our own editing. It's just that she's got that extra layer there. And so as Annie Leibovitz is going through these behind the scenes and you're getting insight into her process, you recognize that really it's all about the story. And she spends an inordinate amount of time thinking about the story. And she thinks about things that the people have, like if she's photographing another artist or a writer or something, she reads their work, or she gets familiar with who they are, tries to get into their mind. And that was really, really interesting to listen to her and how she approaches that. The other thing that I found interesting about Annie Leibovitz is she's not, and this is her own admission, I'm not saying anything that she didn't say, but she's not very good at directing people in front of the camera. In fact, that's not what she chooses to do, actually. I think one of the comments that she made that stuck out to me is two things. She likes to keep things very simple. Single light, really light, going outside, shooting outside the studio as much as possible. She really enjoys that kind of a setup, which resonated with me because as a photographer, most of my work, I love shooting it with single light. When she does have a lot of gear, and she does, if she's on a bigger commercial shoot and she needs that kind of thing, and often she's got a lot of assistants working with her, pretty big production, she mentioned that she kind of enjoys those moments too, because instead of her being out in front directing all of that, she'll set it up the way she needs to, and she's very much in control. People are listening to her. However, she feels that she's able to lose herself amongst all the equipment and the lighting and those individuals. And what she's looking for is that decisive moment to unfold in front of her. And when it does, she likes to capture it. So she's very much a photographer in that sense, rather than being very bold and in front and directing and guiding her clients. She's not really posing them, actually. And she'll tell you if you're looking really good on camera, if you're not looking good, and she gives you suggestions. But what she's looking for is for that individual to allow themselves, their own personality, to kind of take the forefront. And then she just wants to be there in the moment when that happens. So that was a really interesting thing for me to watch and how she approached that. Overall, the masterclass was fantastic. Highly recommend it. Like I said, if you're looking for any technical experience or advice on what to do to improve your photography, you're not going to find it in this masterclass. However, if you are looking to get into the mindset of one of the world's top artists and arguably one of the world's top photographers, then this is definitely a masterclass that you're going to want to take. I'm Shane Baker, and this is my review of Masterclass.